Francis Ngannou's interviewing with Ariel Helwani, and he's talking about the Joshua fight, but he says something very interesting, I thought. He said after this fight, and after he beats Joshua, that he was fighting Tyson Fury. Whether Tyson Fury won or lost to Usyk. Ariel caught that and said, well, what if Usyk wins? You wouldn't want to fight him for the heavyweight title? Francis Ngannou responds and says, I've already been under someone's rule like that. I've already been in those situations. Why would I want to be attached to something that controls me and doesn't allow me to get the biggest fight possible, can stop me from getting the biggest fight possible? If the titles were there and they were on the line and they didn't have any attachment, he would take them. But his goal isn't to get the titles because he compares the titles and the format of the titles to the UFC. Now, there's a lot of ways to look at that. Now, the titles, in the defense that would be against what you're saying the UFC is the titles allow, the reason you have titles and rankings is not for superstars. Titles and rankings are not for superstars. They do not need them. Titles and rankings are for guys who cannot sell. Guys that do not have people behind them with deep pockets. And it allows it a fair environment for a guy to work his way up the rankings through his skill in the ring only and get himself opportunities that wouldn't normally be there for him. So in that way, the bouts and the ranking system work. But the part where he's correct is if you are a star, such as Ryan Garcia, such as Tank Davis, such as Francis Ngannou, it makes no sense to have someone making money off of you when your name is way more important than any of these belts. Or someone controlling your next move because you want to hold their belt. When your name value is all that matters, the belt is meaningless. If I go to the outside right now and interview people, and I said, what belt did Floyd Mayweather have? What belt did Manny Pacquiao have? They wouldn't know. They would just say, they were just champion. They were champion because you paid to see them. And when you paid to see them, they won. That's why they were champion. They weren't champion because they had these belts. If fighters develop the mentality that Francis Ngannou has, which is a very, very good mentality if you have a name, and to not let these ranking systems or belts determine your career, and take the biggest fights possible and the biggest names possible off a win or loss, that's a complete change to the mentality we have. We've seen it a little bit. You've seen Tank, you've seen Ryan, right? You've seen it a little bit, but it's fully adopted. And I think that with the introduction of Saudi Arabia, which I don't really think they care about the belts. I think that I know people are gonna say, oh, well, they're doing Usyk versus Fury, right? But I just think that's a big heavyweight fight. I think that the titles, yes, that's good. That helped it build it up for Usyk, but I think it's just a big heavyweight fight. There's rumors they're going to do Bivol versus Berchbav, and people will say, oh, well, look at that. That's undisputed. That's what they wanted. I think those are just the two biggest names in that weight division, and they know people want to see that fight. I think we put so much overvalue in the belts. I see the purpose of the belts. I see what the belts can allow, but I also see the crookedness of the belts, where a guy that's never fought in the weight class and he moves up and he has a name and he's moved up to top 3 or top 5. I see that too. So there's a huge flaw in that. Now, do I think the belt system or the UFC? No, I don't think that's really fair, but I don't think that they're perfect. And I think that although they allow access to fighters, they also allow fighters to get screwed, where when a guy with a big name comes in, he goes ranked above all of them. But before ever throwing a punch in the weight class. I think it's very interesting what Francis Ngannou said. I think it's a mindset that you're going to see way more often. It's not going away. And people might put so much value in these bouts because of the history and they feel like it needs to be respected, but these casual fans don't give a damn. There's too many belts. They don't know which ones are legit. And everyone walks in with some belt. And if you keep handing belts out at the end of the fights, well, you're devaluing them yourself as a sanctioning body that holds the belts, as the IBF and WBC, and they hand out so many damn belts that no one knows which is which. They took the value from it. And these fighters are starting to see, why am I giving them any power when my name sells the fight? Deuces.